Mark Rober has amassed over 40 million subscribers, makes millions of dollars every year, and can still be considered a niche content creator. With creators like MrBeast dominating YouTube, niche content often gets overlooked, but a niche is the way to succeed on this platform. In this video, we're gonna break down the largest niche channels on YouTube and explain why you should start in a niche. First off, a niche is described as a special segment of the market for a particular product or service. When we apply this to YouTube, any specific format of video in the market of YouTube would then be considered a niche. Mark Rober, whose niche is science videos, and MKBHD, whose niche is tech videos, are two of the largest niche creators on YouTube. Usually you're interested in science or tech if you're watching their videos. On the other hand, you have MrBeast or Eric, who create videos that don't have a specific market. You could be a 6-year-old boy who likes video games, or you could be a 60-year-old grandma who likes cooking, and both can enjoy these videos without specific likes. And although the biggest creators on YouTube are usually not in a niche, niche creators can still grow this into a full-time career and ultimately become a millionaire. Mark Rober is likely the most successful niche channel on YouTube. He's at 43 million subscribers and growing quickly, having pulled 11 million subscribers alone just in the last month. Yeah, he's literally growing faster than MrBeast. Most of this is due to dubbing, which has allowed him to reach a new international audience, and these shorts, which are obvious subscribe bait. Regardless though, his long-form view floor is still about 25 million views. So how did Mark get to these numbers despite being in a niche that isn't too appealing at the surface level? Well, he made science appealing even to people who weren't interested in science. Mark takes the coolest, most interesting parts of his niche and makes videos about those. Elephant toothpaste in lava versus acid is broadly appealing despite it being science focused. Since the title of this video is Niche Content Can Make You a Millionaire, let's dive into the financials behind Mark super fast. Without even considering Crunch Labs, Mark's 140 million views in the last 28 days is worth about $700,000 when factoring in a $5 RPM, which I'm sure is a conservative estimate. So just off of AdSense, Mark is pulling about $10 million a year, which I'd wager is small compared to the Crunch Labs revenue. Another incredibly successful niche channel is Dude Perfect. They now total 60 million subscribers and routinely hit 5 million views on new videos, leading to 50 million long-form views every month. Dude Perfect is widely considered to be in the sports niche. The important thing to touch on with Dude Perfect is pivoting. When DP started out 14 years ago, they exclusively made trick shot videos. And if they had continued to only make trick shot videos for the next 14 years, chances are the channel would have collapsed. However, by introducing new formats like stereotypes, battles, and overtime, Dude Perfect has managed to stay relevant for a decade and a half. Dude Perfect started out in a very tight niche, trick shots. When they grew that niche to the absolute max, they pivoted and entered into a new, bigger niche, all of sports. And speaking of growing to a bigger audience, there's no bigger audience than that of PewDiePie. PewDiePie has only recently started posting non-gaming videos, but for most of his career, his videos were about gaming. And through this niche, one of the biggest niches on YouTube, he was able to be the most subscribed to creator for many years. All this to say, you could be highly successful in a niche as shown by Mark Rober, Dude Perfect, and PewDiePie. Granted, they are in 3 of the biggest niches on YouTube, but even super specific niches can be successful if done correctly. Survival Builder pulls unbelievable views to these fake videos of him doing primitive building. I mean, these are massive MrBeast level views for these videos. No one is interested in primitive building until it gets recommended to them on YouTube. Village Cookie Channel is another extreme niche channel that can pull over 100 million views on some videos. It's literally a village grandpa cooking the most random things, but despite being in an ultra specific niche, it can still pull so many views. My point in bringing up these channels is to say that niche content has the potential to hit massive views, especially when packaged correctly and appeals to people who aren't actively in the niche. Mass appeal via a niche is the ultimate win on YouTube. Forget about trying to compete with MrBeast. Instead, find a video topic that millions of people would watch that Mr. Beast would never touch because it's in a niche. By building an audience who loves whatever niche content you are creating, you get that initial audience commitment to the video, which then encourages YouTube to push it out to broader and broader audiences. A great example of a successful niche channel on YouTube is Isaac Carlton. Isaac makes filmmaking content that regularly pulls hundreds of thousands of views. I met up with Isaac to get his take on niche content.
Take one.
How niche would you say your niche is?
I think I used to view the filmmaking niche as like strictly tutorials, and that's why I was like very turned off by like jumping into the niche. 6 months ago, I just had an idea hit me and I was like, it doesn't have to be like this super narrow thing. Like filmmaking in itself just can encapsulate so many different things.
You kind of YouTubified filmmaking. So I'm not interested in filmmaking at the surface, but your videos pull me in because they're so appealing to the masses.
So my whole goal with the channel now is strictly like, how can I make somebody like yourself that might not be interested in filmmaking, like be entertained by it. Also find people that like really do love filmmaking and then are also like getting inspired by it.
All the hardcore filmmaking people instantly click your video, which then gets it recommended to a broader audience.
I definitely agree.
So your videos are averaging like 200,000 views. Do you think you would have had this level of success?
Is that real?
Do you think you would have this level of success if you had started outside of a specific niche, in this case, filmmaking?
No. I've been making videos on YouTube since 2009, and it wasn't until 6 months ago that I actually chose to pick, okay, I'm gonna make this type of video, and I'm gonna do it in this format, a repeatable format. Literally overnight, people became interested because they knew what to expect.
On the Isaac Carlton channel right now, upload frequency is not necessarily a focus, right? You post about once every 6 weeks at the moment.
It's your polite way of saying make more videos.
Well, that's the question. So do you think if you were to post once every 2 weeks, same quality video, not burning out, would you be able to make a living making this kind of niche content?
Oh, definitely. The great thing about being within a niche is like your audience is going to be very interested in whatever you're talking about, which then you can get, I feel like, pretty lucrative brand deals because of that. A niche has an advantage with brand deals over just a very broad channel.
Basically, you're able to dial in your audience to be so defined that the brand knows exactly who they're gonna advertise to, and then you can charge a premium CPM over anyone, even Beast. You probably get a higher CPM than Beast just because your audience is so well defined versus Beast is anyone.
Yeah, I'm richer than Mr. Beast.
How do you think you could broaden your videos and audience in order to reach 1 million one day?
I do think it is like a difficulty within being in a niche. I think it really just comes down to experimenting with new formats, and that's something I'm trying for my next video. I'm not looking for massive numbers. The more people, the better, but at the end of the day, like what's most important to me is that I have consistent people coming back and that are dedicated, and I would way rather have like a tight-knit fan base that's gonna show up and watch every video than just like praying that each video like reaches a random mass audience. I think that is the power of the niche. I'm a big advocate for making whatever you're passionate about. You know, you've made running videos and they've done really well because you know a lot about the subject and you know a lot about YouTube, so this channel's already done really well, super fast. I think it's just really important to play into your interests.
If you could offer any advice to someone who wants to start YouTube.
This is so good, and I wish I could give myself this advice. Putting limitations on yourself opens up creativity. I just think without a niche, you just have decision fatigue. You can do anything, and because of that, you just end up doing nothing. There's infinite opportunities, so whatever one you end up choosing, you're like, oh, I wonder if this one would have been better. Whereas if you just set a limitation of like, no, I'm gonna make a video about this category of thing, it unleashes opportunities for video ideas. For any new creator starting out, I think like the most important thing is picking a niche. Doesn't mean you have to stay in it forever. You can always pivot, but you should pick a niche because it's gonna give you a returning audience, no matter how big or small, which I think is just huge.
Tyler Talks x Isaac Carlton. I've also been running a niche channel for the last 5 years, and I was able to build a hyper-focused audience because it was in a niche. When I first started this channel 5 years ago, I posted whatever. Sometimes it was travel vlogs, sometimes college-related videos, sometimes running videos. Nothing really stuck because there was no specific audience for the videos I was putting out. Eventually, I honed in on just the running content, and that's when my channel actually started to gain some traction. Once I started posting running videos on the regular, I was able to build an audience who knew exactly what type of videos to expect from me. And on the other side, I also now knew exactly what type of content that they would be interested in. And to go back to the financial side, this niche content was pretty successful. I only post twice a month on this channel, and I pull about 300,000 views per month. New videos average about 75,000 views. So I'm able to make $1,500 a month with a $5 RPM plus brand deals on top. So despite it being a side project and in a hyper specific niche, I'm able to pull $20,000 a year on it just off of AdSense with very minimal effort on my part. The lesson here is that I was failing until I doubled down on the niche and started putting out content for a very specific audience, high school to college runners. Prior to that, no one cared to watch my videos because there was no specific audience it was geared towards. My channel is a personal example, but most big YouTubers actually started out in a niche. MrBeast started YouTube by uploading gaming, and Ryan Trahan started YouTube by also uploading running videos. Very few successful YouTubers start YouTube by not beginning in a niche. Prior to 2019 or so, it was more common with vlogging. So Casey Neistat and Logan Paul blew up despite only uploading vlogs to a super wide audience. But in a modern idea-based YouTube, it's nearly impossible to gain traction without a niche and an obvious dialed down audience. While starting in a niche is something I cannot recommend enough, eventually you'll need to widen that niche if you want to get to the very top. A good example of this is hotel content. At the very base, let's take Trip Hunter, who does individual hotel reviews. There's not much of a market for someone to watch a specific video about the Soundgarden Hotel in the Warsaw airport. If we then broaden the niche a little bit, we get to Drew Does, who goes around staying in the weirdest and strangest hotels. More people are interested because it's packaged better, but his channel still only really does hotel and travel content. On the final level of broadening now, we get Ryan Trahan. Ryan is no longer part of this niche since he posts other videos than hotel content, but it is still a recurring theme on his channel. His audience who watches these other videos might also be interested in his hotel videos. It's worth noting that you should not aim to be like Ryan when you're first starting out. Ryan has been at YouTube for years and has built a loyal audience over years, all while he switched his content to bigger and bigger niches. If you're not convinced that you should start in a niche, let me give you 3 reasons on why it's a good idea. 1, you need a defined audience that can set you apart from the millions of creators out there. There's so many people out there making content, and if you're just starting out, chances are their content is better than yours. You need to dial into a super specific niche that you can be the best at. This comes with a super dedicated audience who will care about every video that you put out, mostly because it will be an underserved community. The more specific you go, the more hardcore the fan base will be. The second reason is that you simply cannot compete with mainstream creators when you're first starting out. If you want to go test 1-star reviews, Ryan Trahan will have you beat. If you want to go on 100 dates in 24 hours, Eric will have you beat. And I'm not even gonna mention trying to go up against MrBeast. There's simply no competing with these broad content creators at their own game when they have teams, processes, and ideas built out. Instead, go where competition is lower and you can gain traction. Finally, the third reason is actually kind of an anti-reason. I recently heard the phrase become the niche in a YouTube video. Why would anyone begin watching videos of a guy they've never heard of without the idea to first bring them in? So create an idea that the viewer might be interested in and thus click your video and then have them stay for your editing or personality. Don't don't be afraid of not being able to pull views. When your potential audience is the world population with internet access, someone out there will care. Over time, you can always become more and more broad. Starting out though, a niche is what will set you apart from the millions of creators out there. And who knows, it might make you a millionaire.